One of the favourite parts of my job as a cinematographer is the prep period, and critical to that, obviously you're working with the director very keenly on the script, but it's with the production designer, and sitting down with the designer and working through scene by scene is vital, really, to establish a visual cohesiveness. Certain films, particularly set-based films, where you're working in a spaceship, for instance, like Life, you have to know the practical lights are going to be in a set, and working with a designer to build those into the set so you've got a base exposure is fantastic, because that reflects on everybody's work. And it was great on Bad Times at the El Royale, which had a large portion of the film was in this one set, and we shot anamorphic and a lot of kind of 360 shooting, so we had to build in the lights into the set. So I worked very closely with Martin Wist in establishing pockets where we could accent the set or light from above with practical fixtures that could be in shot. He really thought about frames within the set and how you might be able to frames within frames, and shooting through lattice work or the use of reflections. It's really lovely when a lot of thought goes into design. And with Martin, I knew that I needed to express light, the colour of the light, the California on one side and Nevada on the other, one having warm textures and Nevada having cool textures. They would enhance that in the art department with dressing, but also I would be able to enhance it with light. It got us off to a good start, because you could walk into a set and the actors could feel that it was lit almost. The same with on Life, that spaceship. There was nowhere to put any lights, and it couldn't open up. There's no ceiling as such that was out of shot. Everything was like a box. So I worked very simply with light there, and sometimes I would bring in little LEDs off camera, but generally speaking it was lit from the set itself. I mean, I love doing that when you read a script and you know that there are different eras. Like, for instance, on The Hours, there were three very distinct eras, and the challenge in that was to create a very specific period signature for each section. That period of prep is great because you can test different film stocks, different filtration, ways of processing. All these things are little pointers towards a particular period that are great to experiment with. And I went through various iterations before we landed on something that was appropriate for the film. And we wanted to distinguish period, but at the same time make the film cohesive, I suppose. We didn't want the periods to leap out too much. It all had to be part of the whole, because there was a lot of parallel cutting between the various sections. From the very outset of prepping a film, the critical conversations take place with the designer, with the location finder as well, location manager, where you're looking for locations and looking at how real light works in real locations, and that can be your starting point. But when it comes to building sets, then that discussion takes on a more urgency in advance, because these sets have to be built and you have to really think about how you're going to light something and how design can feed into that, not just in terms of the practicals that are used, but where the windows are designed and where they're built, and how the choreography of the actors will work within a set. And a great designer thinks about space architecturally and how it relates to story. That is the mark of a great designer like Sarah Greenwood. She's a great aesthete. So the sets always look exquisite, but it's not about that. It's really about how they work for telling the story. And that makes it easier, because when there is that sort of coherence to the design, the photography kind of fits into that naturally. It's easier to photograph. and the images look better because they've been preconceived. I mean, one of Sarah's great films that I had the privilege of working on was Joe Wright's Anna Karenina. We had this stage at Shepperton, Stage C. Every day we had a different set to shoot, and it was like a modular system where it changed around every day. We would finish at the end of a day, and the set would morph into a whole different environment. A stage turn into racetrack, for instance, turn into a bureau, turn into a bedroom, turn into an ice rink, one after the other. The imagination knew no bounds, and there were many lighting cues in that Sarah built into it for me, whether it was a dance with chandeliers that were created for a particular sequence that would float up and out. You can really play with artifice when that's integral to the script. Similarly, the theatrical context allowed me to light in a very different way. I was able to consciously use theatrical lighting techniques. Sometimes people mistake good cinematography for what is actually good design. I'm very happy to benefit from those talents that have informed my cinematography.